I'm from Egypt. I work at Dell Technologies, and I've been an activist in the IG ecosystem for a while. I'm also a member of Internet Society Egypt chapter, and an ISOC alumni. So our session today is on African women AI and the challenges we face and the opportunities out there in this new ecosystem. Allow me first to introduce our speakers. We have here Tabitha Wangechi from Kenya. Will you please introduce yourself?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Tabitha Wangechi from Kenya. I am a Global Youth Ambassador from the Internet Society. I'm also a facilitator at the Pan-African Youth in Internet Governance. I train youth in Africa on internet governance in Swahili language. I'm also a digital security trainer and the founder of Digital Roles in Kenya. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tabitha. And I also forgot to mention that I'm part of AfIGF as well, teaching young people on IG in Arabic. Our next speaker is Lydia Brano from Ethiopia. Will you please introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Lydia Brano, and I'm ITU Generation Connect Youth Ambassador, and I am also an African Girls Can Code Initiative alumni and trainer.
Thank you, Lydia. And joining us from Germany, Hind Damati. Hind, thank you for joining us, and please introduce yourself.
It's my pleasure to be among this great panel. My name is Hind Damati. I'm a digital transformation and AI strategist. I'm Egyptian. I'm based in Germany. My track of work is I'm working at the moment with companies and startups and in the entrepreneurship ecosystem in Egypt and Germany for employing AI in their work. And also I'm big part of my work regards the AI ethics and compliance. I'm also a trainer. I did a lot of trainings in Germany, Egypt, and let's say that Egypt, Africa, and also the Middle East. And it's my pleasure to be today talking especially about the AI for women.
Thank you so much, Hind. And unfortunately, we had a speaker, Rebecca Kitimbu from Tanzania, but she was not able to join us because she has a flight. But she is among the top 100 brilliant women in AI ethics. But she was so kind to record a voice note for us as her intervention. So please allow me to turn on this record.
Hello, my name is Rebecca Ektimbo, and I work within the space of gender in AI. My interest in engaging in the space span from a time where I realized that there were a lot of technology tools being built that were not gender responsive. So in my aim to wanting to ensure that we bridge that gap, that's how I found myself engaging in this. And the first thing I did was engaging myself in building data sets that were inclusive of different gender. This is because I came to realize that while we're building AI, one of the critical foundations in building our data sets. And most of the time, there's not a lot of transparency on if these data sets are gender inclusive or what demographics they cater for. So I started as a Mozilla fellow building data sets. And in that process, I engaged myself a lot in advocating for gender diversity within the data set. This included building gender action plans, engaging with communities to get more women in the AI space, especially the voice AI, contributing to the data set. And during that process, I also identified that there was a capacity gap. So that necessitated me forming the Women's School of AI with the aim of just capacitating women to use AI data sets to build solutions that actually work for women within the space. So it's very critical at this stage to consider things like capacity, access to data set, access to the skill sets that people need to be able to build AI. And it's one of the barriers why a lot of women are not engaged within the AI space. Things that I really think are critical when we consider AI is we need to think about it responsibly. We need to think about ethics. And in this case, minority groups are the most affected if we build AI without including them. And that's why gender is very important, because if you don't have women as part of the team that are building, the perspectives of women are not going to be presented. And you have tools that cannot work for certain genders in the communities. You've seen people building tools for farmers, AI tools that don't work for farmers because they don't understand the concept of the farmers in rural areas who have access gaps, they have skills gaps, they have bandwidth challenges, they have challenges with access to just internet connectivity, and then you pour them with a tech that is complicated for them to use. So we need to understand where the necessities when it comes to AI if we want to have inclusion of different genders in that process. And that is one of the things that actually drives the work that I do. I recently concluded a research on gender in AI in East Africa from a Francophone and Anglophone perspective. And one of the things that I came to realize is we do not have a lot of women building tools because of also cultural bias. We tend to assume the technical. But even when we have women in technical teams, they do not have that active role of actually building models or designing how these technologies will look like. And most times we give them administrative jobs or roles. In that case, we find that whatever technologies that they build, they do not become responsive or ideal to serve the women in the communities. And that is a huge challenge that is blocking or, necessitating barriers in that instance. But also there are challenges within the space in terms of just access to opportunities for different genders. That's something we need to push for and try to necessitate that we have more women represented.
All right, I wish we could have, we have Rebecca with us because her interventions are so important in this conversation, and she has a big experience in this field, in this new field. So I wish we could have her with us. Since we're not a big audience here, I just want to hear your perspectives and your concerns in this matter of women AI. And I don't want to repeat what was already said during the last 2 days, but the representation of African women AI remains disproportionately low, with barriers like limited access to resources, education, and mentorship. Despite these challenges, many African women have emerged as leaders, pushing boundaries in AI innovation and advocating for inclusivity. In our session, we aim to spotlight these leaders, explore critical issues, and inspire actionable steps toward greater representation and empowerment in AI across the continent. So let me start with Hind. Hind, why did you choose AI as your career path? And what are the obstacles or challenges that you face?
Yeah, actually, I started, my bachelor was in electrical engineering, and I wanted to shift more into the engineering management. And since then, I did my digital transformation master's in Germany. And from there, my digital transformation journey started. And along the way, of course, AI is a big part of it, even before the hype of it. And but then afterwards, AI has a lot of empowerment powers that can empower each and every process. And being a big supportive of optimization and process management for good, that was the big thing that caught my eyes and attention to developing my path of work. Talking about the challenges, I would say if you're talking as a woman, being working in different culture, that's a big thing. Of course, a woman with hijab, Arabic, and so on. Working in Germany, there were a lot of stereotypes I had to face and to manage. But if I'm talking about the role of digital transformation or AI leaders in the Arab and the MENA world, that's actually different. And when it comes also to the African, we have a lot of representation of leaders, but we don't have this interpreted into research and data. So, for example, throughout my work, I'm currently working on a paper for digital safety for women, online safety throughout cybersecurity and AI. And this is with the Arab organization and the social minister in Egypt. The main problem was the lack of representation. And the lack of representation here is interpreted into the data that comes. What are the blockage? What are the problems that the women are facing in the area or in the region to actually have a suitable solution for it? What does work in some other countries doesn't work the same in each and every country. So this lack of data and research on how to enable women, especially, it's a huge lack. It also, when we sit on a table with big tech leaders and other big tech industries and leaders, we cannot make the solution customized to the countries and to the women into the different countries because of the lack of the data. So if I would just highlight one thing, and I'm sure that were a lot of things that were said before, that's why I don't want to also repeat them, but if I would take one thing, is the lack of representation and research. How are the constraints and blockage are existing for the women in Africa?
Thank you, Hind. And I knew Hind through a capacity building program on AI, where she introduced women on how to use AI tools and be comfortable with using them. So, Hind, will you please share your experience in empowering other women in AI, and what are the lessons learned and available opportunities for women in, not necessarily only in Egypt, but in Africa?
Yeah, I had the pleasure and the honor to be teaching AI in the practical applications, and especially a big part of the programs that I worked on was for women. I've been training for only the past 3 months more than 400 women, which is a great honor for me. That's one thing. The tracks that the women are using, the AI applications, are so many, and how they interpret the knowledge afterwards into not only into their work, into their life, into the kids' life. It's also amazing and magnificent. Once they are empowered with this knowledge, it's just go viral in their life. And that's also how I also have another initiative. Maybe we talk about it later. It's AI for moms. But for the opportunities that they are existing for the women in the region in Africa, there is actually a lot. And there is a lot of internal and external institutions. They are promoting it. How much is actually serving? That's completely a different thing. Because if we are talking about the accessibility to the internet of all categories of women, we have the digital divide. It's there. And so if also we're having the possibilities, the education, the empowerment, it will not reach to this category of women that they actually don't have the access. That's one thing. The second thing is I'm a big advocate of the closed loop, which means that we can give the education, we can give the knowledge, but then what else afterwards? And especially in AI, there is a lot is going on, not even each day, it's every second it's happening. And I think that's where on individual level, it's a lot to digest. So I think what's really important for the opportunities are given for the women, especially in Africa, that it has to be a closed loop when it comes to training, internship, or a practical application into their type of work, and even grouping afterwards to have a real project. Other people, they are having existing jobs, so they can know based on their work how they're going to implement it, or if they are freelancers or moms or people who are starting their career, they had to get into it. So I think that actually make the biggest efficiency of the fund is given for the all the efforts are done, is linking the education with the output goal at the end. So was what I call it the closed loop.
Thank you so much, Hind. There have been so many conversations around the digital divide that we already have. And even if we target women and mentor or teach them on AI, there will be only a small portion who already have access and a bit of digital skills. So yeah, that's a problem that we need to tackle. Going to Tabitha now. Tabitha, will you please share your perspective on challenges that women face in the AI era from the Kenyan perspective?
Thank you, Noha, for the question, and Hind for the great intervention. I would like to start by saying the normal thing that Africa is disadvantaged when it comes to infrastructural development, when it comes to digital literacy, when it comes to access to financing and technology that will allow us to build upon the artificial intelligence, new and emerging technology that is coming up daily. So I'll take this, for instance, case example in Kenya. I found this survey that was, concluding that in Kenya, only 10% of women have access to mobile devices, which is compared to 22% of men. So this is 2 times more than women have access to technology. And what does this mean? If a woman does not have access to technology, she cannot be able to use AI like the men are. And interestingly, finding out that women are not using AI like the men are. So that means we are already disadvantaged from the infrastructural perspective, and also when it comes to the skilling part of it. So women are not using AI. This means that we are left behind in terms of improving our work and improving our skills and our ability to make money from AI. The other thing I would like to talk about is when it comes to leveraging AI for business in Africa, African women actually represent more than half of the population in Africa. And only 2% of VC funding for startups go to women. And research shows that, when women startups are funded, they outperform the startups that are led by men. So what does this mean for us? Women are being given less money in the AI field, but when they're given this money, they double on the return. So for every dollar you invest in a startup led by a woman, you get twice the money back. That is another disadvantage. And why is this happening? It starts from the leadership point of view. Most of these VC-led startup funding organizations, the leadership decisions, the leadership composition, they are not made by women. You find that it's a very gender imbalanced situation whereby men are the ones making the decision. So definitely the money goes to the men and they leave women behind. So that means that women are not going to have access to funding to leverage their ideas, to build their businesses. And that means that women are left behind, not only in the digital transformation, but also in the economic transformation of the country. The other challenge I would like to talk about is, lack of gender mainstreaming in AI policies. And what this does is it leaves women behind when it comes to taking leadership positions, having gender balanced data sets that are being used to train the LLMs. You find that most of the data that is being used is biased. It comes from somewhere. There are people who have access to this data. There are people who are managing this data. And what they don't take into consideration is that we have a very broad category of people. And when I talk about gender, I'm not just talking about women. There are other sets of genders, and they also need to feel included as much as we are advocating for gender inclusion. So what I mean by this is when you train AI with gender insensitive data. The output you get in every outcome, in every technology that the AI is being used, it means that it's going to leave the women behind. Take a case, for example, the HR system. Nowadays, when you apply for a job, you can get an automatic rejection or acceptance or waiting. Why is that? It's because AI is being leveraged even by organizations to make their work easy. Nobody has time to go through 1,000 documents to approve and reject people. So what happens in this case? If the technology that is being used to recruit by the HR is gender insensitive, it means that as a woman, even if you're qualified, just because you have a female name or it states that you're female, you'll be automatically rejected, and these things are happening. So what I would like to say is women are constantly being overlooked, undermined, and left behind by this technology. And who are the builders of this technology? The men in the society. So what are women doing about this? We're sitting in these rooms, having these conversations, so that we can influence policy, so that we can also join the bandwagon, not shy away from using technology, so that we can improve our lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Tabitha, for your enlightening insights. I wonder if in Kenya, in the startup scene, there are women creating solutions using AI, or if you're aware of anyone.
Thank you for that question. There are women in Kenya who are building. I know communities of women like the AI Kenya community, and there's the women in Web3. There's the I have a friend of mine who leads this community of builders, and they're builders in AI and Web3, and they're women. So there are so many women who are building. But what I can say that I have observed in the scene is that the technology is readily available, there are opportunities, but the money does not come to them. And when you're building and you don't have access to funding, it definitely does not end up anywhere. I have seen that challenge firsthand. And then the other challenge I see is a very huge skills gap. AI came in just the other day. None of us has been trained to use it or to work around it. We've always tried to find a way. So I'm thinking that there could be more. There are some that exist, but more could be done to improve the status of women building in AI in Kenya.
Thanks again, Tabitha. I guess there are a lot of opportunities out there, but we're still unaware on how to get benefit from them. I go now to Lydia. Lydia, would like to hear the Ethiopian perspective on gender and AI. What are the challenges that women face in Ethiopia?
Okay, hi everyone, thank you. So my friends have already mentioned the African perspective, so I don't have to say much about that. So I can only surely talk about what my country is actually going through when it comes to AI. So I'll hit that target coming from different angles, like when it comes to as an ITU Generation Connect Youth Envoy, but I'm also a university student. I'm graduating this year on environmental engineering. I'll hit that target too, but also as a trainer in the African Girls Can Code initiative. There are so many angles where I will hit that, but let me target the one where I became more vulnerable, as every Ethiopian girl is facing, especially in uni. So I remember on the opening this, she said, I think she's from Ethiopia. She is working on digital rights, if I'm not wrong. So she mentioned about when she was asked about the challenges of AI, she mentioned about they're copying and pasting. I was like, this is survival instinct. So we use whatever we are given to. So if we're talking about the bad side of AI, about copying and pasting, well, I'm sorry for using our resources. But the curriculum, especially in our country, is way behind. So we've been copying the traditional way. We've been passing papers. but now we're using AI to do our assignments instead of sharing one book for 50. So I'm sorry for being, we're so on behalf of all the uni people, but I don't see that as a problem, just because the generation, we talked about with Noha earlier too. So whatever the generation is going on, it uses whatever to get through whatever challenges it's going through. When it comes to digital and skill development, you can do your research. It will tell you that in Ethiopia, it's progressing. Women are actually going through it. But how many women are actually in machine learning or AI? So we have like almost zero policy when it comes to machine learning and AI. But our government doesn't even synergize with other chapters, but there is the WIMLDS, which is Women in Machine Learning and AI Development, which is an international platform. So I recommend all women to join that, to actually enhance and to actually fulfill our lack in AI. So it's a very good platform, but how many women in Ethiopia have joined that platform? 2 or 3. I've been to their conferences and almost I couldn't find like more than 3 Ethiopians in that platform, which is very sad. So when you actually ask on the government side why that is, so the digital literacy, basic Microsoft skills is actually very questionable. Nonetheless, of reaching machine learning or AI. So coming from the African Girls Can Code initiative, we are specifically, we don't recommend using coding for AI because we wouldn't be teaching them anything if we are actually jumping off with coding with AI, but we are using it for Turtle Stitch, which is design maker and also fabric and design maker that actually uses AI to make design and the stitching very easier, which is actually very beautiful. We didn't have that privilege when we were actually in the UN 75 coding camp. Where we were actually drafting those designs by hand, sketching them, but we used coding, not AI. So it's actually really, really good that we are actually using coding right now, introducing these girls to actually what AI is like, using AI system on how to actually mitigate that previous problem that we had. So actually empowering the girl child to actually when they become women, that they will be more familiarized with AI so they don't have to set back on that Microsoft skill that they were lacking. So this affirmative action and inclusion of policy and AI development for the young women and even the older women in the community, I think that will help enhance those challenges and tackle them. Thank you.
Thank you, Lydia, for trying to turn the challenges into opportunities for other girls and women. I'm glad that you're doing so many efforts. So let me tell you about a trend in Egypt, because we have ChatGPT for a while now, but I guess because of a comedy series, women just like stay-at-home moms and other women discovered that there's a bot that you can chat with and it will reply to you. You can chat with in our Egyptian dialect. And if you know Egyptians, that you know that our humor is different. We have so many inside jokes. It's not easy to understand the jokes, but you can chat with ChatGPT in Egyptian dialect and it will respond to you. I'm not, how many of you have ChatGPT available in your own dialect? Have you tried to chat with it? Okay, so the problem is these women chat with the ChatGPT as their friend, sometimes as their lover or husband, or because they're seeking to, I don't know, attention, okay? But they're feeding ChatGPT with so many sensitive and personal info about them. And even some of them, they give a prompt to ChatGPT based on what you know about me, roast me. And I know this because they take screenshots and post them online on Facebook groups. And I was so concerned because, like, here comes the question on safety. How we can stay safe and protect our personal info in this new era, in the era of AI. Hint, can I get back to regarding this question, because you founded AI for Moms and you had some research on safety in AI, and I'd like to hear your perspective. You're muted, Hint.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning this specific incident. As much as it's funny, but as you said, it's very, very concerning, because women should be, especially women, because they are the mostly affected by harassment, by attacks on internet. They have a huge concern on the online safety, but especially women, when I see them posting everything about their families, their selves, their emotions, and what is actually cyber attacks? It's social engineering. It's just knowing the other person, what he lacks, what he needs, and then it's super easy to attack and hack their cyber life. So for this point, that was actually one of the situations that was emerging about the safety of the women concerns, and they should be aware of it. It goes to the direction that the awareness now of the ability of the AI tools and how they can actually mimic human actions, not only in the good way, it's also in the bad way, and the fake deep results that can be affecting a lot of women with all of this cultural sensitivity in our region. And especially if it's true or not, if the pictures are there, the social damage is already done. And that's very sad, because in some villages in Egypt, it actually led to the suicide of a lot of women, because none could help them. The social damage is already done. And also the families didn't have the awareness either to protect or even to deal with this afterwards. So it's not a joke, it's a big thing. Let me also tell you the other incident of the kid who actually fell in love with one of the avatars, and that's in US. And he went all the way in the conversation, and at the end, she told him, the avatar, that my lover, just come to me. And then he said, okay, I will be coming. And he used his father's pistol, and unfortunately, the kid was dead. This, when it comes to mom hearing something like this, it's a huge thing and it's huge responsibility. And I would like to take the opportunity to encourage each and every mom to know everything about the pros and cons of AI. It's not only goes to your limitations, it goes to the next generation. And it's not only to protect them for what they see or what they can be affected, it goes to their lives. So safety is a big issue. And also talking about the financial burdens that we were talking about, the cost not only of access to the AI tools or the technology is high, it's also the cost of safety. A lot of women, when we were doing the research, one of the highest burdens was that they didn't afford the cost of safety tools to protect themselves in the internet. So that's also a big thing. I know that a lot of companies now are directing to Africa with a lot of financially aided programs to give the technology with affordable or even on free basis. But we have also, in this context, we have to be aware of what are those companies are looking for in Africa. There is a lot of data needed to be trained. So that's their benefit from there. And also we have to look on the African society safety and security on the digital sphere. For all of this, I think one of the most important things, and not a lot of institutions are talking about, is the awareness of moms. Because I can be, as an engineer working in an institution, I get the proper education about what the technology, the digital sphere. But as a stay-at-home mom, I would not be able, I would not have the access to this type of education or awareness, and that puts my kids at risk and at stake. And from there, I did AI for months, and its initiative, it's not only to empower moms and families and educators and kids of using the AI tools and knowing the technology, it's also to spread awareness about the possibilities and the dark side. I would not say other than that about it, and to just encourage our next generation to be aware of it. And actually, I had a cooperation and I got funded by the German Research Institute of Artificial Intelligence here in Germany with the Human AI Network. I worked with a couple of trainings also in Egypt, and I'm looking forward to do more and more with the African colleagues for the African region, especially because there's a huge spot on Africa. Moving all the data centers to Africa as well, that's something we have to really take care of, and maybe also add some of climate awareness, how this technology is affecting us in Africa with our also energy preserve. So I hope that all moms would have this awareness.
Yeah, awareness is so critical. I hope to see more initiative like yours, because we all need to be responsible in this new era and spread awareness to the others in our community. So I'll now open the floor to our audience if they have any questions to our speakers, or even if you want to share your perspective. Yeah, please.
Thank you. I'm Cécile from Cameroon. I'm a leader of women, particularly young girls. I had an association on young girls, raped young girls, but I finally closed down because it started to be a bit very difficult in such an aspect that I can't really mention here. And finally, when we started with internet in Cameroon, I discovered that it was something wonderful. And talking about AI, I discovered that it helped us. For example, I have around me now in my association 7 ladies with difficulty. Some loses their husband, they are widows. And it was very difficult because, you know, the law is not really protecting women, particularly widows. I don't know if it is the same thing in all African countries. Widows are just abandoned to themselves because after it is maybe the child who is already matured who will take the wealth, or the brother or the sister of the husband. And the widow is abandoned to herself. What I started doing is to help them to make entrepreneurship. And I discovered that with EA, the ladies are getting better because some haven't gone far to school, but the EA can help them because you can question. They are doing what you call, we call it in French, tuto, online with EA, and they are performing. I also have some testimony of ladies, things were very tough for them. For example, I don't know how to manage my son or my child who is a teenager, and they just go to EA. I just tell them, go to EA and ask how to do. I have a son, his name is, and this is how he's behaving. What can I tell him not to lose him? And the EA will help them, and they'll perform in their families. Some even having problem of maybe cooking good food, and they can be helped through the internet. I discovered that it was something very wonderful, and I started even receiving congratulations from some husbands that the fact that you are with our wives, we have discovered that they are performing. They can be more respectful, and I help them to manage the anger, the pressure, the I don't know, when it is very difficult for them, they just come to me and we work together. And what I discover is that particularly sometimes we really blame maybe the whole world because women are left behind. I used to tell women that we are the one most of the time who decide to let behind ourselves. Because lady, what is happening? Here is me. I'm here in a conference, even AfIGF, but working with my government. They didn't even take in account that I'm on mission or they send me somewhere, but I'm working. I have to manage my house, manage my husband, manage everything. Yeah. But ladies most of the time flee. It's too much, I can't, and they used to flee. They don't fight to get at the same level as men. This is what I really recommend ladies in all countries to fight, to go ahead, to push, and they will reach.
Sorry, Cecile. We're running out of time, but thank you for sharing your perspective and empowering other women and teach them how to use AI as an enabler instead of seeing it as a threat. And do we have any other questions from the audience? Yeah, please be very brief.
Thanks. Hello, everybody, speakers, moderators, guests. I am Guru Tasmama, the private media sector, Asquala Magazine, Vice Editor and Women and Girls Support Ethiopia, Vice President and Communication Director. Three questions. My question in Amharic.
No, only one question, please. We're running out of time. Thank you.
In question in Amharic, በቅድሚያ ሁላችሁም አመሰግናለሁ። ከኢትዮጵያውም እንደ ኢትዮጵያ መጀመሪያ ግን አንድ ነገር ማመስገን ያለብኝም ነገርም ስላለ በጣም በዚህ ኮንፈረንስ ላይ ጠንካራ ሴቶች ታላንትር ሴቶችን አይቻለሁና እንደ ኢትዮጵያውያን ትልቅ ኩራትን ያለኝና አክብሮታችሁን ለሴቶች በአጠቃላይ በጭብጨባ ብትገልጡልኝ ደስ ይለኛል። ሁላችሁ ትልቅ
he's thanking all the powerful and magnificent women that are participating in this forum.
Thank you so much.
ግብፅና ኬንያ ትልቅ ልምዳችሁ ሰጥታችኋልና የምጠይቃችሁ ጀንደር አካታችነትን የኢትዮጵያ መንግስት በተለይ የሴቶችና ልጃገረድ ድጋፍ ማህበር የኛም ሚኒስቴር መስሪያ ቤቱ አካታች አድርጎ እየሰራ ያለውና እንደ ኬንያም እንደ ኢጅፕት አካታችን ሴቶችን በሁሉም ዘርፍ አንደኛ ኢኮኖሚካሊ ተጠቃሚ ከመሆንም አንፃር በፖለቲካው በኢንቨስትመንቱ በቴክኖሎጂው በስራ ፈጠራው በእያንዳንዱ በሚዲያውም ዘርፍ ሴቶችን አካታችነት አድርጎ የመስራቱ ልምዳችሁ ኬንያዎችም ኢትዮጵያ ያላችሁን ሼሪንግ ብታደርጉልኝ። ሁለተኛ በዚሁ አጋጣሚ ብዙ ጊዜ የማይነሱ ነገሮች አሉ። ቮለንተሪዝም ላይ የሚሰሩ ሴቶችም ይሁን ወንዶችም ተጠቃሚ አይደሉም። ኢኮኖሚካሊም የትምህርት እድልም ብዙ የሚመጡትን ነገሮች አይሰጥምና አተ ፍሬንድሺፕ ነው እየተደረገ ያለውና ትልቅ ሀሳብ ትልቅ ፕሮጀክት ያመጡና ያንን ፈንድ ከማግኘት አንፃር ከሪኮርማው ምንድነው ያንን ፈንድ የሚያገኙበት እንደ ኬንያም እንደ ግብፅም ሴቶች ተጠቃሚ ኢኮኖሚካሊ የሚያደርጉበት ፕሮጀክታቸው ሲያመጡ ፈንድ የሚያገኙበት ምንድነው ልምዳችሁ ያለበሰቱ ደስ ይለኛል። ታንክስ።
Well, to summarize, I think he's trying to share, since you guys are from Kenya and Egypt, what is the dynamic of the skill sharing and fund approachment, and also how are young girls able to get the skills on different political, economical, and other aspects of gender-related development or skill sharing. If I'm not wrong.
I can share some of the Egyptian perspective. I don't think that our fundamental education system is relevant, it's still way behind, but I think we're doing good in terms of continuous education. Our government is supporting many learning opportunities. They are offering many learning opportunities for free now, and there are many national initiatives that are out there to encourage youth in general and young girls and women specific to learn about digital skills and work in advanced tech. And the startup scene in Egypt, I guess it's doing good, but I hope that we stop replicating solutions that are out there and try to go to the grassroots level and solve solutions that we really suffer from. If you wanna.
Thank you, Noha, and I think that's a very good question. Skilling when it comes to technology, artificial intelligence, or just general digital skills, I have seen my country take this approach where the government collaborates with international organizations, private sector, and civil society to offer free online courses or to give scholarships to students to study, for example, courses in artificial intelligence from UK universities. I know some of my friends have gone to the UK to do courses in artificial intelligence through scholarship from the Kenyan government and the UK government. So there's this cross-government collaboration, cross-government, private sector and civil society collaborations to enable young women to have access to digital skilling. And then I also see entities, private sector such as banks, like the Standard Chartered in Kenya. They sponsor women every year, like 100 startups. They fund them to, develop specifically in AI. So these women build solutions in AI, then Standard Chartered funds them to bring their ideas to life. So there are so many initiatives like that, and we can learn something from each other.
Thank you, Tabitha. Online moderator, sorry, we don't have any time for more questions, but I really appreciate your interest, and I hope that we can keep the conversation going. But I need to allow the online participants only to have the floor. Online moderator, do you have any questions from?
Yes, you have.
Yeah, we can take only one.
Yes, we have two. We have almost 6. Let me just read the first one.
Sorry.
Yes, I'm going to read the first one, and then it's from Nandipa Ichalba. I really don't get the last name, Ichalba. She says, how do we demystify AI amongst women given the current hallucinations that characterize GN AI, leading to some discriminations across cultures? That's one of the questions.
Yeah, that's okay.
You allow me to just briefly, and I also leave the floor. I think
Okay.
it's the participation of the local talents, because as you said, mentioned before, the language, it's really, really needed to train the models on our language, on our cultural perspective. And also the representation of the African, not only the women, the African society into the technology, it will actually eliminate some of the hallucinations that actually is resulted from the training, because the machine is never biased. The human is actually biased, and then the human who was the one who trained the machine. So we actually have to interfere into this stage of training and creating models that's actually culturally and locally representing our region.
Thank you. And very briefly, Tabitha?
Yeah, thank you for that. Actually, I would like to comment on what one of our participants was talking about, women relying on AI for advice. I would strongly not advise that, because the people who would go to AI for medical advice, for family advice, for religious advice, we have to realize that AI has been trained by data from somewhere, and sometimes it might not be accurate. The hallucinations from AI are very dangerous. It might give you false information confidently, which might lead to harm or distraction, or so many other bad things. So I strongly advise that we seek advice from well-sourced information sources, so that we don't get into that loop. And then when it comes to the cultural bit, back then in Kenya, I heard of this training data set that was, gender biased. It was revealed that the data set that was being used to train AI was gender biased, because it was trained using old data. And as you know, in our culture, there's a lot of misogyny, and it's very patriarchal in nature. So they had to start revising this data set and update it to ensure that it's gender sensitive. So I think there's something we can do about it. There's access to new data that we can use to retrain the machines so that we eliminate that bias. It's actually possible because the data is available. So it's how we approach it. And if we have goodwill from the private sector, the owners of this technology, we can be able to reverse this harmful cycle and ensure that the artificial intelligence technology we use is actually, gender balanced.
Thank you, Tabitha. I agree that if data is not updated, it will have no value. So Lydia wants all to address the question, please.
Okay, as they said about the update and abolishment of obsolete data, so I know this person that actually doing a project in AI, where, as you know, in Ethiopia, we have like 33 alphabets when it comes to cultural. Let's go to linguistics. And he's working on this, when we type one, the first letter, and we're going to have to struggle and find the other 6 ones. It's a headache typing an Amharic alphabet. So he's trying to work on this compromised version of the keyboard, which is a very small type of, and makes it really easier. I can't speak of much of it unless you see it, you didn't get it. So he's working on that. So AI is actually helping on this cultural and linguistics improvement, which is a great deal for us because typing in Amharic alphabet is a headache. And that's what I want to say.
Thank you for sharing your perspective, and thank you all for attending our session. I guess the conversation can go on and on and on, and I hope we can continue this conversation elsewhere, online or in future forums, or within your communities. I hope you spread awareness yourselves. I'll ask now the speakers to give 30 seconds closing remarks because we ran out of time, starting with Hind.
Yes, I would just embrace the power of AI and how it actually gives the flexibility and empowerment in all cases. Just with the internet access, the knowledge can be done, but I will also encourage the local communities and organizations to work on ground because those ladies around the villages or in other cities that are away always from the capitals are almost forgotten. Only the local organization can actually go to them with the proper funding. And I would really love to see the African community are all working under the same umbrella of policy and regulation with customization for each country to protect all women in the region and also respecting the cultural and societal references. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and Tabitha?
Thank you for the session. Thank you for joining us. My concluding remarks would be, let's give women the money to innovate, to develop technology. Let's support them. Let's build policies that are gender sensitive, that will allow women to have equal opportunities in the society. And also as an individuals, please stay safe in the digital space. Don't give artificial intelligence all your personal and private information because it can be used against you. Thank you.
Thank you, Tabitha. Lydia.
So they said all the gender perspective. So moving generally, there's so much for us to do as Ethiopian, not just women, even the men. We have so much to do. There's so much challenges that we can tackle using AI, from the cultural, political, socio-economic, even gender. There's so much challenges for us to tackle. Even as I mentioned, the small thing as language, there's so much for us to do. There's so many innovations to come. So I hope we can do that. And I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you all. With this, I close our session. Thanks again for joining, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you.
We have a session here. If you'd like to stay back, you're welcome to join us.
Yeah. Hello, if you don't have a lunch coupon, can you raise your hand, please? Lunch coupon. Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, they bring it to you right now, please.
Good afternoon. We will start the next session in 3 minutes. Let me confirm that our online speakers are connected. Hello, Fifi. Godsway?
Not yet. You'll connect right now. Just wait.
Okay, please. Thank you. Um, Let me know once the online speakers are connected. In the meantime, we are preparing to have our next session. The topic of the session is addressing content moderation. Peter, can you make them co-host? Okay. All right. All right. Have you made them co-hosts? Why? Can you use the mic?
IT have not given access yet, so just in person start and then they'll come. They'll come join you later because they are still waiting for feedback.
We're supposed to do it together, so I'm not sure if we can wait a minute or we proceed. Hello, Fifi, are you online? Godfrey? They can't talk, so we have to make them co-host.
Hello. Wait. Just wait. They will be online. Okay.
Oh yeah, nice to see you, Fifi. Welcome.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Asante. Okay.
Karibu sana.
Yeah, okay.
All right. So, good afternoon, everyone. Can we please have one meeting? Thank you. So, good afternoon. My name is Tabitha Wangeshi. I'm a facilitator for Swahili in Internet Governance at the Pan-African Youth in Internet, Pan-African Ambassadors in Internet Governance. Thank you. I'm joined with my colleagues. I'll let them introduce themselves, then I'll hand over to Fifi to do the opening of the session. So I will start with my right. You can introduce yourself briefly, and then we go to Fifi, who is joining us online. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Noah Abdelbeki. I'm from Cairo, Egypt, and I work as a cloud engineer, but I'm also an Arabic instructor on internet governance as part of the PAYEG initiative.
Good morning. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Millennium. I'm from Tanzania, and I'm the coordinator for the Youth IGF. But I'm also a facilitator for the Swahili cohort and the PAYEG initiative.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Matilda Moses Mashauri from Tanzania. Yes, I am a Pan-African Youth Ambassador in Internet Governance. Thank you.
Thank you. Fifi, you can go ahead.
All right, thank you. I see beautiful faces there, and I'm very happy to see you once again, everyone. I will pass on to Goswe Kubi to also introduce himself. Then after that, I will give the opening remarks of the section. I'm very happy to have female, because PAYEG, we promote female, so the gender is balancing. So Goswe, you and I will be the only male here, but we have other people joining who can also ask questions and share their ideas. So introduce yourself, then we will just kick off.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm Godswill Kubi from Ghana. I'm a Ghana School of Internet Governance Fellow, PAYEG Fellow, and also the lead facilitator for Internet Society Online Safety SIG. Glad to be here, and good to have you all here.
Okay, all right, thank you, Goswe. Thank you, Tabitha. And I've seen many Swahili cohort people within there, and also our Arabic lead also there. So thank you. Today we are going to talk about the content moderation in terms of multilingualism, misinformation, and the role of local content in shaping digital Africa. Over the past years, we've seen that internet usage in Africa is growing day by day. The digital transformation journey within Africa has been a very transformation challenge, because whilst we go online, there is a lot of things that is popping up in terms of content, information, and also how we can embrace that. This session is going to be organized or is organized by PAYAC ambassadors and PAYAC team. Our role is to shape digital narratives across Africa and also put in multilingual content for people to learn about internet governance policies and how we can strengthen the digital Africa we want. So today I have my speakers here and I'll be giving some input, but I want them to talk. We'll be talking about the perspective related to content moderation, multilingualism, misinformation on digital literacy, promotion of local content. Then we will try to understand the perspective what PAYAC have been doing, because when we come to content on the local content multilingualism, I can see Millie and Tabitha is there, Noha is there. They have translated content from English that they have used to train their fellows. We'll bring that perspective and also look at the content social media is handling. Matilda has also been a fellow and ambassador this year, who also learned most of the things. Gosway also supporting basically most of our content on online, and also as an ambassador and fellow. We want to learn the diversity of how local content has been able to help them in terms of shaping digital narratives in Africa. So I'm going to hand over to Wangachi. Then as this is the open remarks, she will handle on-site moderation and everything and ask questions from the speaker's perspective. Then Gosway can also come in that. And if there is any contribution, I'm happy to support. Thank you everyone for joining, and let us have a fruitful discussion and a very good conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fifi. I don't know if Gosway has spoken.
Yeah, so he introduced himself.
Oh yes, I spoke. Yeah, I spoke.
All right, I'm just joking. Thank you so much, Fifi, for the great introduction and for the good work that you have been doing for the previous years in the PAYAG team. I know you have supported over 5 languages, translation, the delivery, and also the mentoring of young people in the internet governance space to be able to have this knowledge reach them wherever they are, even if they cannot speak English. I also want to recognize my fellow panelists. They've played a very huge role in that particular initiative. So, as we all know, Africa is facing a lot of challenges when it comes to misinformation, disinformation in the digital space. The more the digital space grows, the more we have new technology like artificial intelligence coming up, the more people are able to create fake images, they are able to create fake narratives, fake stories on social media and spread it as misinformation and disinformation. Misinformation is spread unintentionally. False information spread unintentionally, while disinformation is false information that is spread intentionally. Okay, so what we want to understand from our panelists is, the importance of creating content that reflects the local cultures, the reality of the people on ground, the languages that we speak, and also, is this information credible? Is it relevant for our time and for our use? Are we sharing information that is relevant to the things that we do, or we are sharing information that is going to harm us or cause abuse in the internet? So I'm going to start with Noha. And I want Noha to speak on content moderation, just telling us a bit on how we can improve as a continent when it comes to moderating content online, especially now that we have diverse in cultures, we have diverse languages, and we want to balance the freedom of expression without limiting people from freely expressing themselves online. So as technologists, as advocates of local languages in the internet space, what steps can we take to ensure that the content we have online is properly moderated and all languages are included without infringing on the freedom of speech? Thank you.
Thank you. I guess it's a challenge because content moderation can go extreme, like most of the social platforms has content moderation ways and reporting if in case you have any issues or harassment, you face any violation, you can report it to the social media platform. But I don't know, given that we have like diverse languages, these social media platforms, for instance, need to invest to have local teams to assist the users in case they have they face any violation of using these platforms. Also, I cannot say that all internet users are responsible. So we need freedom of expression, but we need to have limits as well. We need to be responsible users of the internet to make it a safe space for everyone. But this is not the case. We need, like, ruining someone's reputation is very easy in our era now. Like, using deepfake, using info against someone, it's very easy. So we need to have, we need good regulations of the online content, but we need it to be moderate regulation and with clear clear law, or so the reporting can be easy, whether to the platform itself or to the police. We have, for instance, in Egypt, the internet police, where you can report any incident, any online harassment or something, and they are very active, I believe. But sometimes, because actions are very slow, people tend to expose the incident online to grab the audience attention. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Noha. I think you mentioned two very important points that I took note of, which is making very clear guidelines that protect people while they're using the internet, and also ensuring that the reporting process is made easy. With that, I'm going to move to my next panelist. I'm happy to be joined by my fellow colleague Millennium from Tanzania, and I'm going to ask you the question of multilingualism. What can we do to support and improve on the usage of local languages online to ensure that there's inclusivity and we ensure that there's access to information to everyone, regardless of the language they speak?
Thank you so much, Tabitha. First off, I would like to acknowledge one of the challenges that we have been having with content moderation and multilingualism in Africa is, first, for example, I could give an example of my country, Tanzania. So for example, in Tanzania, we have 121 or 27 tribes, right? And then our national language is Swahili. There are some people from different areas, let's say like the rural areas, who don't even know Swahili. They don't speak Swahili. And I have relatives of mine that don't speak Swahili, even though Swahili is a language that is used in our daily communications, right? And then the other thing is, I want to give another example is, for example, let's say you have an English statement and you want to convert it in English, you go to Google what? The Google search, yeah? The Google Translate, the Google Translator. If you take the Swahili words, or the English words, and then you want to convert them to English, sometimes it gives you wrong words. And I think that is like, first, we are lacking the localized, the data sets in Swahili language are missing. To the point that you might Google something like mtoto, which is a child, can give you something else, which is not it. So the challenge here is, first, our data sets, like in our local languages, are not included in all these platforms like Google, all these things, or these, maybe like the AI models are not trained in our own languages and stuff. So I think some of the opportunities that are present in terms of like localizing all these contents and multilingualism, first is to have a localization of algorithms. For example, even ChatGPT is not so good in Swahili. If you want, unless if you want something nice, like if you have a question and you want to ask it, it's better you just ask it in English. Because if you do it in Swahili, it'll give you something wrong or a wrong information. So at some point, we need to invest in having or training all these models and having all these algorithms that can help us have some content in our own languages. And some other thing is like investment. I think some of I know we are still developing countries and all that. We are still looking for money. We still have a lot of projects that we do at national-wise. I think this is a call. This should be a call for nations, countries, the whole continent to invest in all these in language resources. So we should reach a point that we even pay these human resources to go and say, okay, now we want some content in Kikuria, or we want some content in Kikuyu. So we need to pay people, they gather data, prepare content, we fill all these data sets in all these online platforms or algorithms and all that. And another thing is we also need to encourage the creation of the local content. I think, for example, to my kids, one of the biggest things that I've been having to understand is like balancing freedom of expression and all this, like, what do we call this? Freedom of expression and all this, you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to say this. I think in my country, don't quote me, but I'm just saying, in my country, I think for me, is one of the countries that people are so conserved. You might see something wrong. And unlike Kenyans are they have the audacity to speak. I don't know, I really like Kenyans, but I think for us, we have this thing, if I say this, so there is no clear standards, clear rules or regulations that can guide someone to freely express themselves, to create local content, to say whatever they want, and at the same time, meet all these online regulation standards. So the balance is still like, I think I would say the balance is still not yet good, and I'll end there for now.
Thank you very much, Millennium. And I'll just comment on your last point, which is so many people in different countries do not express themselves freely because they are scared that certain laws might be twisted or used by the government to prosecute you. So maybe you're creating content showing people how the streets look like, and the government arrests you for showing people that you have potholes in your country. This is actually a true story, something that happened in some country somewhere. I don't want to mention it and get in trouble. So, I mean, we need to promote creation of local content without limiting people using the oppressive laws. So I'll go to my next speaker, Matilda. Thank you so much for joining us. And I would love for you to speak on misinformation and digital literacy. Can you address the collaboration efforts that we need to have between governments and other entities to tackle this problem? And also, how can we, address the challenge of misinformation in our African context?
Yes, thank you very much. Well, misinformation travels very quickly in Africa, and that is due to language barriers, because Tanzania itself, we have more than 120 tribes. Kenya also has its own number of tribes, same to other African regions. Ethiopians speak Amharic, we speak Swahili, the others who speak French and Portuguese. So in this way, even if someone brings you a certain information that is not true, you cannot analyze it because you do not understand what's written. For example, misinformation in the health sector, mostly during the COVID-19, a lot of wrong information was being spread in African countries because you could not understand what was written. In 2021, that's when we got we were told to quarantine. Yeah. I once saw I came across a certain article that had a wrong information, the wrong data of the COVID-19 of that country and everything. So I even created a website and I called it COVID-19 resources, and I gave information about COVID-19 in Swahili. And that was so helpful by that time. And also another thing, we do not localize our own data. Of course, sometimes me when I came here to Addis, like this is true fact. I came here to Addis, then I met a friend from Zimbabwe. And then I'm asking them, how is the war in Zimbabwe? She asked me like, what war, Matilda? I'm like, I saw in the BBC this morning there's war in Zimbabwe. He's like, no, there is no war, like everything is fine. You know, I'm like, no, I told her, come search. We went and searched on TikTok, war in Zimbabwe, and like literally there's videos, people fighting and stuff. And then I remember it's the same thing in South Africa. They started to spread a video that was from 2009 about how the South Africans, I don't know, that was like kind of, anyways. So this is a big problem in Africa. And how to address it, we have to we have to teach about information. We have to analyze our own data in our own languages. In Tanzania, it's the compulsory education, the primary education, is all the subjects are taught in Swahili. As soon as you enter secondary, all the subjects are taught in English. So you cannot even compare. So now even the students, they have to cram and not understand, and they have to read for exams and not for the experience or for the content. They even have to study things that they do not like, or they have to go to the right things. Most of them, if you take the data, especially when females, they take history, maybe Kiswahili or languages. It's very rare to find the number of females taking physics or chemistry or STEM related. It's very little. So I really appreciate the Pan-African Youth Ambassadors Initiative, PAYAG, because so far it has trained more than 2,000 people in 5 different languages. So I got to learn internet governance in Swahili. My friend of mine got to learn internet governance in French, another in Arabic, in English, in Portuguese, and we should put this into more of our languages. There should be internet governance in Amharic, our own content, our own data. And that is how we're gonna all tackle the misinformation, the digital content creation. Thank you very much.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Matilda. I mean, misinformation, disinformation is very evident on social media. And with that, I would like to say that before you share, please verify. Don't be a contributor to the misinformation and disinformation. Now back to my online speakers. Are you ready, Godsway?
Oh yes, I'm here.
All right, I have a question for you. So I want to understand and make the audience understand what steps can we do actively to ensure that we support the creation and promotion of local languages that carry our culture, that carry our language, our identity, that tell our story. What can we do to encourage this?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think when I heard as you were reading the question, something came in mind. You know, we the people encouraging it, how well do we understand the language we are promoting? You know, how well do we, because charity, they say, begins at home. You know, some of us, even from the onset that we were born, our parents might not be even be speaking your local language with you. You know, we assume that the English is, when you understand and you can speak English means that, oh, you are illiterate, you are so good, and, you know, you are well educated. So it's all boils down to we the ones going to promote how well do we understand, how well can we speak that language. You know, most of us, I know, like what my sister said, she was talking about people in Swahili cannot even speak Swahili, you know. So you can imagine that. So sometimes some of them just know the basics, and the basics alone wouldn't help us to create content in our local language. Because you can have the basics, only the basics of the language, and you wouldn't be able to pinpoint the words that will let a person reading the content understand it properly. So I think one thing that I will focus more on is, you know, is training our own self. First of all, we need to train ourselves in such area. We need to make sure we the ones coming to promote it. How well do we understand it? it's more like training the trainers. So if we understand it properly, then we can reach out to the audience outside, try to organize some workshops, some let me say sessions for them, and just encourage them the need why they should promote their local content. Example, like sometimes when we go to sessions like global sessions, there are translations for other languages. So similar things that Africans we could also do. If we keep pushing our local content or our local languages, I think it will go far, and they will, it will be included in most of these global sessions. And so I think another thing I would look at is we looking at how to you can't do it alone. We still need some partnerships to get to the larger scale. So we can develop some African-owned streaming platforms, to distribute local music, movies, and educational content. Even our music industry, not everybody, like to do the music in their local language. They all feel that when you do it in English, you reach out to the larger audience, or you get the larger, yeah, it's good you get the audience, but you are undermining your own local language, thinking that you want to get to the top. So I think it all boils down to us. We need to first of all put ourselves out there before we could be able to educate communities on the value of consuming and creating local content, and also introduce some digital literacy programs that will focus on skills that like content creation skills that people could possibly get, like online publishing, and how they could publish articles in their local content. I think all this is going to help us to be able to get our local content out there on the international map. I hope this helps.
Thank you so much, Godso, for that. I got two things: capacity building. We need to empower young people to actually create content, write articles in their own language. And also, the other thing is young people need to see examples. They need inspiration from somewhere, which is very important. I would like to go to Fifi. Maybe he has some thoughts, some reflections from everything that our panel members have spoken about. Fifi, welcome.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that. I think I agree with all the statement that my speakers are saying, because in terms from Arabic, Portuguese, Swahili, and also looking at that, we wanted to get more information in Portuguese and other cohort, but because of this internet issues and other kind of local content, which is not creating more appealing work for other regions to join or other countries to join, that's the problem. But based on my experience encountering with the youth, this is what I have experienced, especially during the time of election. Misinformation goes through. Now, everyone is eager to gain money. So that is the mindset. We want to achieve everything quick, money. So yesterday I was saying that people who are creating content are not even trying to build a credibility online because they want fake information. In Africa, fake information sells more than good news. Do you know why? And you can be a witness to it. Noah can be a witness to it. When we send PAYAG application out there, people will see it, not read and pass by. Whether because we try to translate it in so many languages by the help of the facilitators. We share it online, people will not read. The youth are not getting used to it. And Matilda even mentioned last time that even for them to fill the form, it's very challenging and hard. Why? Because that is a credible capacity building. They are not interested in that. But let's say if a blogger is sitting somewhere, post an information related to fake news about something that it's trending in the whole world. Let me say there's a country trending, Equatorial Guinea. People will go and watch that one. People spend much time on the negative aspect of the internet because the misinformation sells much. Because one, the ignorance is there because they are not ready to learn. As you were saying, I was very happy you mentioned digital literacy. Why? Because election time has gotten to people want money. So people want fake news on their blog site for them to get more subscribers, more people to watch their videos. So they're going to create a lot of fake content there. People will create a link whereby they will say that, oh, this president is giving $100 to each people. Imagine Ghana, even as a population, over 20 million and above. Can a president provide $100 to each of them? This is a fake news because sometimes we don't even think far. We don't realize that this information. And also, I was very happy that even as PAYAG training, we try to make the youth understand how domain name system works, the DNS, what is domain and other stuff. So when you see a fake domain, they can identify because they are not learning that. Another side we have to also do is that the government must also be a key player in this. Most of the government organizations, and I will say it again, they don't even update their content very well on their website. So how can I verify that the government have sacked this person from the ministry? If the ministry is able to provide a credible information on their source, when people see fake news, they can go and verify. But sometimes when you get to a government website, for about 5 years, they have not even published anything. Yet they are in the system. And this is the most challenging. And misinformation, how we can enhance it, it's a collaborative effort and a stakeholder engagement we must all do. The youth has the responsibility to learn. And actually, I was very happy. When you see something, verify. I would say that when you see something, say something. Question people. Where did you get this information from? Where did you get this content from? How did you manage to put this on? When we start questioning people, we'll be able to realize. And we should always try to manage our downlines. The people that we know, let's try to spread the word to them and teach them and engage them that when you see this domain, this government country use this domain for their specific purposes. This one is fake. We should try to let them understand how domain names work because most of the information running on internet runs through application and domain names. And some are fake from blogs, which create a lot of misinformation, disinformation within the internet. Thank you very much, Tabitha.
That was very impressive, Fifi. You left me in stitches here with the case studies on misinformation. And what I would like to say is, I support your statement, and it's true that misinformation sells, and people love fake news because it's fantasy. And most people, especially young people, love, it's called engagement farming, where you post something fake or controversial so that you can get more likes, more impression, and that translates to you earning more money from the digital platform. So that is a very dangerous trend. Thank you, Fifi, for that. And also not failing to mention that we need cross collaborations from every stakeholder to make sure that the digital space is safe. On-site online moderator, do we have questions from the online audience? You can be checking that as I get questions from the audience, then we'll wrap up.
Okay. So, like, I think we have a contribution from George Duke. There's no hand raised. If you can raise, if you have a question, you can raise. But he said that I believe that aside from local context, super important for understanding inclusion for individuals with specific impairment is relevant for working in innovation. This is from Gregory Duke Day. And also, again, he's saying that local context creates connection, a sense of familiarity. So that is what we have online now.
Thank you. Thank you, Fifi, for that. Do we have any questions from the audience? 1 question, 2 questions, 3, 4. Okay, please make it very brief so that we close on time. Thank you. We can start.
Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Dr. Johannes Kazau, and I represent civil societies here. So the question I wanted to ask was, first, I would like to appreciate the panel discussion that we just had. And I wanted to actually wanted to understand your view on the varying levels of language development in different regions of Africa. For example, when we take the Ethiopian context, we do have ethnic languages that do not have a written script yet. So how do we ensure, we know we would want local youth to participate in the process of developing content, but when they are in these different levels of development, how can we ensure that we create some network or collaboration with maybe could be firms or corporations that develop these technologies and these platforms? What can we do in that aspect?
Thank you. Next.
Thank you very much, Tabitha. My name is Mashai from Lesotho. So I should first start by applauding PAYAC for the initiative. So my question is, what does a country need to do to be part of the initiative? I'd also love to learn internet governance in my own language, Lesotho, because I'm even trying to build a switch AI, but most of our content is not digitized or digitalized. So it's like a struggle. We do not have any data set in my own language. Thank you. Thank you so much for that question. I'll give it to our boss. You're lucky he's here. He'll answer that question after. Next.
Thanks, Tabitha. First of all, I am Guru Tasmama, private media sector, Asquala Magazine, Vice Editor and Women and Girls Support Ethiopia, Vice President in the Communication. My question in Amharic. My friend is translating English. በቅድሚያ ይህንን እድሉን ስላገኘው እያመሰገንኩ በጣም እንደ አፍሪካም በተለይም እንደ ኢትዮጵያ ትልቅ አደጋ ውስጥ እየገባን ያለው ሶሻል ሚዲያ ፕላትፎርሙ ሚዲያ ነው ወይ? ሚዲያ ከሆነ ሚዲያ ደግሞ የሚመራበት ሩል ኦፍ ሎው ዘ ሞራሊቲ ሁማን ራይት አለው። ስለዚህ ከዚህ አንጻር ከታንዛኒያም የመጣችሁት አላችሁ ከጋናም እየሰጠና ከኮንቴንቱ ብዙ ጊዜ ሶሻል ሚዲያው ላይ ኮንቴንት የለም፣ ኮንቴንት አልባ ነው። ስለዚህ ኮንቴንት ክሬት ከማድረግ ጥሩ ኮንቴንት ይዞ ከመውጣት ሌሎቹም ወደ ሶሻል ሚዲያው ላይ እንዲመጡ ተሞክሯችሁን እዛ ላይ ከናሬሽኑ ከምኑንም ብትሰጡ ደስ ይለኛል። ሌላው ታንዛኒያም ከጋናም ያላችሁ በተለይ ሞራሊቲ ሁማን ራይት ላይና ሩል ኦፍ ህግን የበላይነት ከማስጠበቅ አንጻር በተለይ ዲስኢንፎርሜሽኑ እየበዛ ስለመጣ ከመከላከል አንጻር ምን ስራ ተሰርቷል? እንደ አፍሪካ እንደ ያላችሁ ከጋናም ያለው ታንዛኒያም ብትሰጡ ደስ ይለኛልና በተለይ ወጣት ሶሻል ሚዲያው ላይ ኮንቴንት ያላችሁ እንድትመጡ ፈልጋለሁ። እንደ ኢትዮጵያ ማበረታታትም ስላለብንና ከዚህ አንጻር ያላችሁ ጠቅላላ ተሞክሮ ብትሰጡ ደስ ይለኛል። አመሰግናለሁ።
አመሰግናለሁ። Let's go to the next speaker. Thank you so much for your question.
Don't you like the translation? Yeah.
I thought I understood everything.
My friend said that he questioned whether social media is a real media or not, because if it is considered as a media, it should be governed by rules, regulations. And he wants to know about the experience from Uganda and Tanzania. His second question is related to content moderation on social media. And he emphasized on most of the content that's shared on social media are more of disinformation and misinformation. And how do you tackle in your country? And he finally called for action. He wants his African youth to join him in a better, social media content curation.
Excellent. Next speaker.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Barakat. I represent civil society organization. So it's not a question, it's just a suggestion based on the feedback given on localization, because I believe localization may not solve all of our issues. And since we do have hundreds of languages even in Africa, it would be impossible for us to train the computer to recognize all the languages. But what I believe is that we need to educate the community and key relevant decision makers and advocates to take action, especially in reporting, because most of, even for us, if we see some information, sometimes since we don't have time, we just ignore it, believing that some other person would report it. So if we create a culture of reporting, it would make something. The other one is with regards to building a trusted source of information and capacitating the existing platforms, whether it's a news platform. Even in Ethiopia, we do have some Telegram channels where we go just to see some new updates since they are trusted. So if we build upon that, we might tackle some of the issues. The other one is advocating, since if we advocate for, okay.
All right, thank you so much everyone for your questions. If we don't have any questions online, my panel members will tackle the questions that have been asked. I would like to start with Godsway and Fifi. You can answer the questions that you feel you are in a position to answer. Then I'll come back to my on-site moderators to answer the questions and we'll wrap up. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so this goes way here. Please, do you have, I wanted to answer the first question. Have you stated it down or something? Can you, the question again? The question regarding, okay, so I think, yeah, the first question was more like, how can this contents that we create online be well moderated, or how can people that understand the language create those contents, right? Yeah, so looking at the explanation I gave earlier on, like I said, sometimes the language, yes, somebody can speak the language. They can speak, but they can't write. They have no idea. They have no idea of even how to write such language, So that is how come I see they tend up to focus on the English, since that is what the educational system often, lead them to. So I think one thing that I would like to encourage more or to say about that particular question is, we need to start encouraging our own, we need to start from our own homes, If we are learning the language, let's try our possible best to know how to write that language. Let's not learn the basics. Like I said earlier on, when you know the basics, you are not going anywhere because you can't write anything. You write and somebody will miscommunicate it because the person, that is how he or she understands it. So sometimes we ourselves need to make sure the language we are speaking, can we write it? We need to train ourselves in writing that language. In that case, we are able to promote it properly. Because if I can speak only on panels or on like with individuals, can I write it? How do I communicate it? Then meaning we are going to communicate through voice notes every day. No, it's not possible. So we should also find a way, one way or the other, we ourselves need to develop that interest in how to write that particular language that we want to promote. In that case, we will be able to create content about it, probably, be able to publish some articles in that local language or local context so that people within the area can also read and write, In that case, I think that will be the best option to be able to promote these languages because it starts from us, yeah.
Well answered. Thank you, Godsway. Fifi?
Okay. All right. Thank you, Tabitha. I would like to address the from the Ethiopia perspective and also the question which is asking if PAYAC can translate their fine. PAYAC does a lot of investment within, we get a scope. So when you ask my facilitator and fellows here, the courses were designed and translated by the facilitators on their perspective languages. What we do is that Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, and let's say other few countries speaks Swahili. So we try to bring all these people together because sometimes the Swahili in Kenya might even differ from Tanzania, Uganda, and Rwanda and other stuff, but we try to make it very uniform. And I understand just few languages in there because we've been learning to build that content and courses based on the knowledge and perspective. If maybe you want your country to also get that kind of partnership, you can reach out to us on PAYAC. Then what we do is that we will look up into the content that you are looking up for in the languages. If it is available for us to work together, we will do it. But normally, PAYAC, we don't have funding. We are just new, but by the grace of God, we get support from other sources to fund our program and do all the other works that we do within PAYAG, and we are trying. So if anyone wants collaboration for us, you can reach out to PAYAG. You can search for the online. We have learning, e-learning, that's all the course and module and everything. The training, we have all the setup already. We can, but for the content and partnership, sometimes we may have to look for funding to build that project, and we are open to reach out. Now, let me go to the one saying on Ethiopia. So let's say Ethiopia might have different languages aside their main language, but what we have to scope is that what is the common language that people in Ethiopia speaks? This year, PAYAG, we had over 41 fellows who joined from Ethiopia. And most of them, over 80% were in English, but some of them speaks French, so they joined the French cohort. Some speaks Arabic, so they joined that. But for us to develop a local content for Ethiopia people on their language, we can scope that, okay, fine, we have this language, every Ethiopia, no matter the tribe speaks, so we can build that internet governance model is there. And what I'm happy to share is that most of the fellows are from Ethiopia, from PAYAG, and we even have facilitators and ambassadors who are Ethiopian, so they can help us to build that caucus based on the course. Thank you very much. I hope I have answered the question. If there is anything, Noha, Billy, and Tabitha is there to also give some insight about it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fifi, for that. You answered our question. I will go to our panelists. I want them to address some of the questions that have not been addressed, and we wrap up.
Okay, I have like random and different reflections from the conversation here, and I guess each and every topic we tackled needs a session on its own: misinformation, localization, etc. So I'll start by saying that we shouldn't underestimate the power of any language. The population of Egypt is over 110 million people, where most like 98% talk Arabic, and we have like less than 1 million people talking Nubian in the south of Egypt. But the Nubian language was used as our code language in the 70s during our war with Israel, and it helped us to communicate. The authority was able to communicate with each other and exchange info, because no one knows Nubian except of this very small population. So, but now this language is dying, so it's a pity. Also, for example, we have more than Arabic is spoken in around 30 countries, but still the content is very poor in Arabic. And the content in Fusha, you know, the official language, because people tend to share in their own dialect or in English because it's easier, like finding info in English, reliable info that they can refer to is easier, or they even use Franco-Arabic. Franco-Arabic is writing Arabic in Latin letters. So I guess content moderation for Arabic is and finding proper and reliable references in Arabic is very hard. Lastly, I would like to thank PAYAG for this initiative, and kudos to our fellows who are here in the audience and joining us online. I had a small comment that Arabic speakers tend to apply to the English cohort. I'm not sure why. Although the conversation in Arabic was very enlightening, we had during the last two cohorts, the conversation was even going on WhatsApp, and people, our participants and our fellows attended several forums afterwards. So I hope to see more people joining us in the different cohorts. Thank you.
I know I said a lot of things that I wanted to say, but just to add on that question, I think that I've seen several tools, like online tools that convert specific languages, right? They translate languages, right? I think For that case, if for the case that of some languages to have no written script, maybe we can utilize the voice tools. And if they're not there, maybe we can. This is an opportunity for us to create ones, and then we can have those, and then languages could be translated into voice. But also we can train if it's a specific tribe or community that don't really have those written scripts. We can train them orally. Just, yeah, train them. These are the voice tools or some of the tools that you can use. And then I think they'll be able to leverage those resources. And for that case, we can also be able to bridge the digital divide.
Thank you. And I think maybe you can share a bit on how you tackle misinformation in Tanzania. I know there was a question on that.
Okay, I think first of all, as Fifi said, in Tanzania, actually, social media, I think there are people who don't sleep. They're always there. When something is posted, in a minute, it's already spreading, right? So first off, the issue of, I can't say we are there or there are specific rules or regulations that has been clearly set and that people understand in terms of like content moderation and all. I know right now, I think some of the efforts that have been made is just like in terms of like education, making people understand their rights online, some of the regulations on how they can manage their contents and all that. But still, there is a large spread of misinformation. So I can say, I think this is also a call to action to like the government itself, to engage with the civil societies, the private sectors, all these tech companies. They can all join forces, and then we can do all these trainings to people. We can sit at the table and then create clear policies and regulations so that we know, okay, if we have content creators, these are the things that we expect from them. These are the things that they can follow. And then what should we do when all these regulations are not followed and stuff. I know for some people, I've seen some people, when they post specific issues or specific information online, their post could be taken down immediately. But then for others, they wouldn't be taken. So I think there's just this imbalance and unfairness that still exists. And I'm not so sure how we can tackle that, but I think we have to like work together and have, like, everyone should have the rights of using the social medias, all these online platforms freely, following the regulations and all that. Yeah.
Thank you, Millennium, for that. I think it's well answered. I'll go to Matilda.
Yes, thank you very much. I believe all of us here in this room, we all think like we want good things to happen to Africa. Like we want Africa as one, we want Africa to engage itself into the digital world and everything. And if you can see all the cases, even scamming, all this misinformation, disinformation, when people are getting phished, or even the cyber crimes, all these scams, because people do not know, they do not understand, they do not have the knowledge. You find, like, let's say a certain business man or woman comes to Dar es Salaam, like Dar is the big city, opens a bank account and everything, and you find this person back in the village is doing like an amazing work. But then he doesn't know how to keep his account safe. He doesn't know that you should not give your PIN to someone else and stuff. And even if he has connected his phone to that particular bank, the information comes in English. How sure are we that that person knows that English? So all the problems, all the root causes of everything that happens, it starts from the beginning, like from us ourselves, like it begins with us on our own, from our own community. So if we get to teach people about, especially the young girls, I really pity my fellow young girls. I'm just 22, by the way, and I believe there are other 22 who do not even know how to even switch on a phone. And this is something it's not like a story I'm saying, no, this is something that I do, because I do in Tanzania, I work with for the African Girls Can Code initiative. So we will go to interior, we go to rural women's, We teach them about the digital, how to engage their business into digital. So I'm talking something that it's real, something that is affecting. I went to that, Wangechi, someone doesn't even know how to write her name. How am I supposed to teach that person that there is this, and that? So you can see it's, we really need the government, the civil society, together, the technical team to keep on like creating the tools that we will support the people. You know, put aside the marginalized group, even the fully abled group, the fully abled people, like the ones like proper just like us, just because they do not understand the language, it's a problem. Now, if you add the marginalized group, then it's even a deeper problem. So how do we do this? How do we tackle this? Let's teach people, like we are trying to solve our community problems with a different language. Like it's I don't know how to, like I'm trying to find, like I don't remember the English term of this African saying. Unaweza kuhamisha, yani kama unatoa maji kwenye bahari na ndoo unamwaga pembeni, ndugu yangu. Anyway, so it's that we need to teach this and that. So, and I really want to say to give my gratitude and thanks to the Pan-African Youth Ambassador of Internet Governance. As I'm repeating again, just in the 2-year set, it has trained more than 2,000 fellows in 5 different languages. Something that this actually, I learned about internet governance, but it was in English. I learned from the African Union, it was in English. I learned like even from IT, it's in English. So it was for the very first time we got to learn internet governance in Swahili. And when I tried to share the application link with my friends even come back and ask me like, Matilda, they're asking me to attach my profile. What does a profile mean? It's so yeah, we need to do this, and it begins with us. So let's start with us, with our own languages. And it's amazing to me, a person who speaks their own language, their own mother tongue, their own particular language is, to me, is the most elite person rather than a person who speaks a strange language. So thank you very much.
Thank you for that powerful submission, Matilda. I'm so sorry to everyone else who has a question. Our team is here, and you can also find our team that is online on social media. We can connect you with them so we can continue the conversation. But otherwise, I'm about to wrap up this session so that we can go and have lunch. I'm so sorry, I cannot take any more submissions or questions. If you miss lunch, you know who to blame.
Okay. Thank you very much to give me the floor. I'm Alijana Tusalu Arepa, MP of the Parliament of Benin. My English is not so that perfect. I will just try to say what I want to say quickly. Otherwise, I'll balance in French. Thank you for the good job you are doing. But I think the language issue is a very, very important to settle, to go deep or to master the governance. Je vais partir en français. Alors, je pense il n'y a pas de.
I can translate.
She can translate. She can translate. From Rwanda, isn't it?
I can translate for him, so let him come.
C'est parce que je vais aller très vite.
I can translate.
Donc, merci beaucoup. Je pense que la question de la langue dans le développement, l'avancement de la gouvernance de l'Internet est capitale. Parce que c'est une question majeure sans laquelle nous ne pouvons pas aboutir. Alors, juste pour repartir, pour dire, le Rwanda, ce n'est pas un problème. Ils ont une seule ou 2 langues. Et je pense que dans beaucoup de pays, comme en Éthiopie, vous n'avez pas beaucoup de langues. Le problème ne se pose pas. Chez moi au Bénin, le Bénin, nous faisons 13 millions et 600 quelque chose. Et nous avons 68 langues. Alors, comment donner une éducation en 68 langues? Je viendrai, c'est juste une contribution que je vais donner. Alors, pour adresser la question de langue, pour toute la communauté de l'Internet. Je pense que nous allons repartir aussi pour dire, nous l'avons déjà dit, nous ne le dirons pas assez, l'éducation de base pour nos populations rurales. Parce que les populations rurales aujourd'hui, ils ont, d'abord, tout le monde n'a pas accès à l'Android. Et celles qui ont accès à l'Android, ils voient une photo, par exemple, sans savoir quel est le commentaire, ils le balancent. Elle est déjà tombée dans le coup de la loi. Alors, la question d'éducation, je souhaiterais que vous preniez ça en compte, que nous y revenions d'une manière ou d'une autre, si nous ne voulons pas aller au travers de ce que nous sommes en train de poursuivre. Alors, ma suggestion, j'aurais beaucoup à dire, mais c'est ma première participation au GIF, ce qui fait que j'ai voulu avoir une idée de ce qui se passe un peu partout. Je m'excuse pour le retard. Alors, ma proposition est la suivante. Pourquoi est-ce que chaque pays ne s'organise pas de manière à retenir ne serait-ce que 3 langues officielles pour le pays? Chaque pays membre de, comment l'appelle-t-on, de l'AGF s'organise pour retenir 3 ou 4 au maximum langues que chaque pays va travailler et maintenant remettre l'ensemble de ça pour la communauté, pour en faire la diversité de langues. Elle me presse, je ne vais pas aller de l'avant. Donc, c'était la contribution que je voulais faire.
Merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup.
In a nutshell, she was mentioning that some countries have like 2 to 3 languages, but in Benin, the population is 30 million, but they have 68 spoken languages. And there's an issue with the main education in the rural areas because some people, they can go online on social platforms and they see a picture and just they reshare it without, they don't understand what is written on the picture, but they still reshare it. So she wanted to hear the panelist's perspective on what about keeping a limited number of languages, official languages per nation. Am I right?
That is a very good point. I don't know if I have the answer for that, but I think as much as local languages are causing a havoc in that sense, whereby some people cannot understand content in other people's language, but would still share that information. I think having a national language is a very great thing to have, of course, which ensures that everyone understands content in a certain language. But also, I think there's something called context and culture, which feeds into different languages. And I think limiting, languages because of curbing misinformation would be counterproductive. So I'm just thinking that it's fair to let people have representation in the online space in terms of language, in terms of, content, but ensuring that we do not limit that with the fear of, this language will be used to spread misinformation. So still, as PyIG, we are promoters of diversity, we are promoters of culture, we are promoters of localization, and I would advocate that we keep speaking these languages wherever we are. Speak your local language, create content in your local language, and don't shy away from it. And whenever you see information that is disinformation and misinformation in your language, you can actually report it. You can get rid of it to ensure that you're not a promoter of this harmful cycle that we have. So with that, please allow me to wrap up this session and people can go for lunch. Thank you so much for joining us and goodbye. Fifi and Sabri. Fifi and Godsway. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you
owe me chocolate.
Thank you for your contribution.
Okay, all right.
I'll see you guys soon.
Okay. All right.
Thank you so much.
See you in New York.
Merci beaucoup. Asante sana.
Karibu.
Karibu. Karibu Wute. Thank you very much.
Akwaba. Goodbye. Asante.
Au revoir.
All right, bye.